Om Shanti. We have invited very special senior brothers who have experience of love story, heroic story, adventurous story, very challenging stories. So we have Brother Michel from Serbia, Sister Kamna from New York, and Sister Louise from Suriname. And today we have very special moderator from Miami, Sister Wadi, who is one of the most senior sister from foreign land. And as I know, she got a lot of sustenance from Daddy Janki. So thank you, Sister Wadi, for coming all the way from Shantiban to Gyan Sarovar. So I hope you enjoy today's panel discussion. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Stories. I think we all love stories. I was wondering as I was sitting here in meditation, do you think they told stories in the Golden Age? What do you think? Don't think so. Because when we think of stories, it's usually to do with something that has happened. And of course, if we go to the ancients and the indigenous peoples, you will often find that they have like an oral tradition where the stories were handed down, you know, their history was handed down in the form of stories, poetry, songs, etc. And we also know that for every human being that exists, I don't know, what are we at now, 6 billion, 7 billion? There are that many individual stories. And sometimes the thought that when it comes to, say for instance, your autobiography, have any of you started to write your own story? And once again, in writing an autobiography, it's about something usually that has gone before. And the question for me is, would there be a difference in you writing your autobiography and someone else writing your biography? Do you think there would be a difference? I think so too. Which would be kinder, the biography or the autobiography? The autobiography. I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought the biography written by a friend or something would be much kinder, in that we often tend to critique ourselves, judge ourselves, find what's lacking in ourselves, etc. Whereas often other people are much more kind in terms of their vision on us. And then when it comes to Baba, of course, would there be a difference again if Baba were to write your story? Totally different, you think? And what would be the essential difference? I think if it were in book form, Baba's would be a much more condensed version. Ours, we would be justifying, explaining, analyzing. And with Baba, there would be none of that. And so Baba has given us, actually, a new identity. He gave us a horoscope, a new clan, a new time frame, a new occupation, all of these things. And so we're kind of now writing the story, with that being the umbrella, if you like, and in which then the mundane things, hopefully, become more compressed, and the things that are divine are beautifully exaggerated, are made bigger. And so we're going to hear something of the stories of my three friends here. And although it was mentioned where they're all serving, but for Luz, who is in, do you all know where Suriname is? Who doesn't know where Suriname is? Oh, it's in your region. It's a little country in South America where they speak Dutch. And although Michel is in Serbia, you will hear from the accent that his birthplace is France. And also for Kamla in the United States, and actually that would be a neighbor of Suriname's. She's originally from Guyana. And so they all have very long histories. Michel's I'm very familiar with, very conversant with even his arrival into Gyan. And I just share one thing. And I saw Michel's story change. And at that time, this was in London in the late 70s, and Daddy said it, and I never forgot it. She said, anyone's drama can change in 1 second. And I saw how Michel's drama changed in 1 second. And so, who would like to start here? And as already mentioned, I asked him the question earlier, what kind of stories do you like? And so Kamla said, adventure. And Michel said, heroic stories. And Luce said, oh, so traditional, love stories. But the thing is, these are all components and more of each one of our stories. So let me ask each one to tell a story about themselves based on the attribute by which they answered. So I want to hear an adventure story from you. Just start.
Tell me when to start.
Just start. Are you ready for the adventure? They're ready. They've got their seatbelts on.
Om Shanti. And I'm very happy to be here with the family and to share my story. And you will define the story after it's shared. It's definitely not a love story. I have been sharing the story many times. And every time I share it, I can hear myself. And the experience of it seems different for me every time I share. As you've heard, my name is Kamla. I'm from Guyana originally, but have been serving in New York for the past 20 years. And I think it's a wonderful drama to be in a place where it's very, very active. I don't know how many of you have visited New York? Yes, Claudia for sure. So I was based in Long Island, Harmony House, with Sister Mohini and brothers and sisters there. And it was quite, in the beginning, adventurous. It was a new discovery, a place, service, the environment, people, the challenges. It was very interesting. And so being there for 20 years was a big experience. And I can recall recently could be last year or the year before, ending of 2015, where I was called suddenly to be in the city in Manhattan because the sisters there, they were not there, they were not available. One of them was traveling, I think both were traveling, and the need was very much there for someone to be taking care of Baba's home. And I volunteered because I love the city. I love the busyness, I love people, I love doing things and, doing many, many changes in the center. So I accepted, and I was having a grand time, a ball of a time, as we say. And in the midst of that, there was a phone call. And like you said, everything just changed, switched. And that's when my doctor called me and said, I have some news for you. I said, okay. I listened, and then she said, I just want to let you know that the diagnosis have been predicted as you having cancer. Now, this was last year. I think it was May. She said, you have been tested positive for cancer. And I paused for a second, and my reply to her was, well, I just have to do what I have to do. There were no emotions. And later on I tell you how being on this journey for so many years, I've been in Gyan for 36 years, and you realize how much power has been instilled in the soul that it becomes a support at a time of need. So I didn't panic, I didn't get frightened nor anxious. I just realized I just have to do what I have to do. And that was where my story started. Should I continue? Are you all with me in this adventurous story? And I had realized at that moment I did not want the modern day medicine. As you know, with cancer treatment, there come this toxic drug, which I seen as toxic, the chemotherapy and all the rest of things that has to go with it, and I was not ready for that. So myself and Sister Gayatri, some of you know, she accompanied me to the doctor, and we did many more tests. And then he said to me, he referred me to the oncologist, but before that, he told me the plans, the layout plans of what had to happen. And of course, it's chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, etc. And then I met with the oncologist, and she was speaking a language I didn't know. You know, they explain all the different areas of what they have to do, and the hormones, and the estrogen positive, and the BRCA1 gene, and I was like looking at her. What is she talking about? But also I was looking at the expression from the doctors and the oncologists, and they appeared to me as being like robots. You know, there were absolutely no feeling. They were just like robots. You have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this. And I just looked, and I knew I was not ready for that. Even though I knew it could be dangerous if I delayed, because I have many relatives, not immediate family members, but relatives who've been through the similar process. Some of them, they left their bodies, and up to recently, one of my cousins also left her body. So it was something I was quite familiar with, and I know the danger of it. If you delay, it can be quite dangerous. So I had to be sensible, but at the same time, I did not want to rush into something. I had to be clear. I need to have a clear insight what I need to do. And I told the doctor, he had already decided a date to start my treatment, and I said, I need some time. Just give me some time, and then I will definitely come back and see you. And so within that time period, I decided to explore something more holistic. Because for me, I believe in nature, and I believe in natural things. And that was my first impulse, that I need to experiment with something more natural. I didn't know if it was going to work, but I really would have liked to try different aspects of natural therapy. So I took about 10 days, and I went to San Francisco, and I had some treatment done, which I felt really good about myself. I felt more healthy, I felt clean, but I knew that was not the answer. The short-lived treatment was not enough. So when I went back to New York, it was not a plan. I really didn't have a plan like a long term, like this is what I'm going to do. But I guess it was just maybe because I was very much into remembrance with Baba. One day I just got this feeling, I need to change my environment where I was staying. And what came to mind was Peace Village. Don't know how many of you know Peace Village, Baba's beautiful home in Peace Village, upstate New York, on the mountains, in Catskill Mountains, which is very famous for skiing, snow skiing. Lots of people go there, and Baba's home, Baba's retreat center, is in that beautiful environment with lots of nature, fresh air, and that image came to mind, and I said, that's where I want to be. And it just happened like maybe overnight. Packed my bags and head off. And of course I told the doctor I will change my environment because I was not ready for treatment. And I went to Peace Village, and I don't know if some of you were there, but it's so fresh and clean. And the first thought that came to me was tapasya, because I always wanted to spend time in meditation, and I felt I never had enough time to do like real deep tapasya, because being in a busy place, an environment, I could see myself for over the past 20 years non-stop in terms of service or activities or different things that happen. And I felt deeply inside I never was able to do enough meditation as I would like to. And Peace Village seemed excellent for me in terms of reviving my deeper inner spirituality in terms of meditation. So that came to mind, that yes, a great place for meditation, and also the environment for healing, fresh air. And that was the time Sister Kala and myself, we made some decisions of changing doctors, and I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about the place and the people and where to go. I had no clue. And we just at random called, doctors, and the doctors upstate in Catskill, actually you don't have any doctors nearby except maybe half an hour or an hour's drive to different areas. So we just called randomly and made an appointment, and I went to see an oncologist. And I tell you, as I walked into the building, into the room, I just felt this very beautiful energy. Now, this is not a Brahmin energy. This is just a place where people are doing their work and serving. But it was different from what I have seen in, let's say, Long Island or Manhattan. It was quite efficient, the management. It was spacey, it was relaxing, and the way they created the place where you had to take your treatment was like you're at home. And that was where I started my treatment. I met with the oncologist, and she was so warm and embracing and caring. And I discovered afterwards that she worked in one of the best hospitals in the world, Sloan Kettering, for the past 26 years. And she was my oncologist. And this human touch, this feeling that I felt she knew me and she cared for me and she wanted to help me. So that's where I started my treatment. And it may sound funny, but I used to look forward going for my treatment, my chemotherapy treatment, because the way they set up the place, you just like sit on the chair, they attach all these gadgets on your arm, and you can have your nice cup of tea or coffee, whatever. You can be reading a book whilst you're having these heavy-duty drugs in your body. And afterwards, I would go to the center, the retreat center. But the condition of the mind, when we listen to people tell us different things about their cousins or their friends, or you hear about relatives going through the similar experience, and how their body reacted severely. I even know one Brahmin, she told me her mother took chemotherapy, and the second chemotherapy, the soul left the body. And most people I know who have taken chemotherapy, they have like vomiting, nausea, they have like sore mouth, they can't eat, they have no sense of taste. I have a doctor next to me. So I listened to everything, and I was prepared mentally, okay, tonight I should be upset inside. My body should be upset because I had chemotherapy, and I expected the worst. And nothing happened. I couldn't believe it. Day one, nothing happened. And these were extremely heavy drugs that they were giving into my body. And I took treatments for November, December, and nothing happened. I was doing my Amrit Vela. I think I was getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, going for my Amrit Vela, Murli class, helping with Karma Yoga, loved to be in the kitchen cooking, making bhog. So I kept myself very active and busy, and if you want to know the truth, you ask the people who lived with me in Peace Village. And not 1 second, people knew that they didn't even know I was taking chemotherapy, because I was like normal, apart from feeling weak. Physically, the body was feeling weak, but the soul had a lot of abundance of power. And I was doing so well with my treatments that the doctor said to me, "Oh, you are my excellent patient." I have to write it down. "You're my excellent patient." But I knew the reason behind all of that was because Baba was helping me a lot. Because before I started my treatment, I used to sit with Baba, and he knew, well, this is not my choice, I really did not want this, but I felt confirmation at Amrit Vela. And one of it was one morning, which I wasn't feeling well that morning, and as I sat for Amrit Vela, I felt someone putting a tilak on my forehead. And who would that someone be at 4 o'clock in the morning? It's just Bab Dada. That was my first confirmation. And the second confirmation, when I was in Baba's room, and I felt as if Baba was saying, "Go ahead, the Father's with you." Second confirmation. The third confirmation was when Bidanti Ben from from Africa, she visited Peace Village, and I went into her room to say hello. It was Thursday morning. Just randomly, I went to say hello, and then she said to me, "Today I'm offering bhog. Do you want me to say anything to Baba?" I said, "Yes, just tell Baba I want all his love and remembrances." And I was about to do a surgery, and I said, I just want his blessings. And she came back with this amazingly beautiful message from Baba, and he said that the child has been serviceable for many years, and everything will be easy. And the purpose of this whole experience was to serve the doctors. And he said, everything will be easy. I'm having goosebumps as I speak. He said, everything will be easy like a hair being pulled through butter. Everything will be easy. And he also added, if people come to say anything that is like negative, because yes, I had thousands of people telling me different things. Do this, eat this, drink this, or something in a negative way. He said, just tell them everything is okay. And close their mouth. Literally, close their mouth. But yes, Baba's help was very much there. And going through the whole experience, I felt, Baba is God. And if we can use him, he's there all the time, every time. We'll feel everything, even it's whatever the body is going through, will be a very, very easy experience, very easy experience. So I did all my, whatever I had to do in terms of treatment. And even the last treatment I've had before I came here, the doctor said to me, and now this is a different doctor, a different treatment. I think they have been observing me, and they said, we heard that you're a very calm patient. I said, good. And these places actually have never heard about Brahma Kumaris or Peace Village. And many of the doctors, nurses, they came to me and they said, can we have a brochure? Can we see what you're offering in Peace Village? So I thought it was a good chance to do seva. So Sister Kala used to come with me and take this big box of toli and, the blessings and everything. And they were very happy. And so my intention is to probably do some follow-up when I go back with the help of Sister Kala. And I see it, as Baba said, it's experience for service. to reach out to the souls and to do that kind of service. So that has been my story. Thank you.
So you had surgery as well as the chemotherapy, right? One surgery or one surgery?
Yes.
Right, okay.
One big surgery.
I'm going to come back to you later and just to find out how you changed within that period, because it's hard for me to imagine that you can go through all of that even though you're very cool and everything. But what inner transformation happened? Can I come back to you on that one? All right, okay. So who's next? Michelle? And your thing was heroics.
Mm.
And when Michel mentioned this, he also said, and I'm in vehement agreement with him, that it's being heroic or being successful just to have maintained being a Brahmin for what must now be 40 years, right? Yeah, so big congratulations.
Okay. Okay, so I will say I am an innocent hero. You know, I'm always ready to say Aji. And maybe it started, you know, before Gyan, this also, when I was 19 years old, when, you know, I was not successful in my study, so I didn't know what to do, and the only thought that came to my mind is traveling. And I didn't have any experience of traveling. And I didn't know why, but I went to America, Canada, US, Mexico, Guatemala, without knowing no one, without having any experience of traveling, and without having any maturity even, you know. But in 1 year of this travel, I really learned some more maturity. And when I come back to France after 1 year, then again, the question is what to do. And I didn't know. And then the next question to me was, but what do you know to do? And then the only answer was, no, I know to travel. So I went traveling again for 1 more year. So, okay, so without going to too much details, I went to Poland, where because my mother was born in Poland, so I was in small village, you know, and in 2 months I learned to speak fluently Polish. So it was amazing. No, I forget Polish. No, I mean sweep perfectly with Spanish, and a little bit of Serbian, which is still big, challenging. So yeah. So, but the thing is, at some point I was in Turkey. Then when I left Poland, and then I have I tell myself I have 2 possibilities now in my trip, either India, either Africa. And I say, I will not go to India because that's for the hippie. I'm not a hippie. So let's go to Africa, knowing nothing about Africa. So I was in Syria, and then I take a boat, you know, from Syria to Egypt, then across Egypt, South Sudan. And when I reached South Sudan, there was only one possibility for me, to go to Republic Central Africa. But to go from the village in Sudan to that next village, where it was the equatorial forest, there was no road. It was 45 kilometers. And I said to myself, well, I like to sport, so let's go. And I start to walk 1,000 kilometers in Africa, you know, and nothing wrong happened to me. And it was a very nice experience, because each time, and also I learned, but each time in the evening I reach a small village, I was looking at the people, you know, and if someone was smiling to me, I say, I will spend the night in his place. And it always happened like that. But the story is even more interesting then, so that, you know, I've been a Christian, with Christian education, but as soon as I finish my education, everything fly away. Because no realization, no understanding, no experience, nothing. And so I become atheist. And but still, I think I was a searcher for the truth, or to really the right thinking, or something like that. Anyway, when you walk 1,000 kilometers, where there is no city, no Manhattan, nothing, so you are detached, from everything. You don't have any news. So renunciation is there, So you just be on your own. And at some point, before in the border of Cameroon and Gabon, I meet African pastor, very nice person, and after 1 week, he convinced me about some faith in God. So then he makes me cross the river of Cameroon and Gabon. And then I was feeling alone, because usually I learned to be alone and it was okay, but now with being with nice person and living that nice person, I feel alone. So I say to myself, I don't even know why I say that, but I say, you are not alone, you have God with you. And then an experience from the sky of love fall on me so strongly, so powerfully, that it's not the love of a human being. It's 1,000 times more powerful. That means something like that. That a human being can give you. So clearly, I say, well, that is God. He's up there, and he knows me because I was alone in equatorial forest. So I say, well, no, my life is to find him, and because I want to experience more love of him, So I keep on my trip, walking up to Yaoundé, the capital of Gabon, and come back to France, and again having 1 week of silence retreat in some Christian charity stuff, and having nice experience, and still looking for God. And the thing is, the day where I understand that God is not in Christianity is because I went to the Cathedral of Geneva, Switzerland. And when I see the old devotees singing the Je vous salue Marie, the praise to the Virgin, in such a slow and weak motion, I say, well, that's not me. That's not my love and intoxication for God, So I say, no more in Christianity for me. Okay, so anyway, so I went to Spain, come back to France, and what is interesting in the drama, and my drama is like that each time, at almost the right time, something new appears, And a friend of my brother was living in Scotland. And as she came to our flat in Paris, she invited me to Scotland. So I said, yes, always. Because nothing to do in Paris. After 2 years of traveling, big space, Ocean Pacific, Atlantic, Africa, 1,000 kilometer equatorial forest, Paris, winter time, small jobs, that's not my life. That's not for me. So I went to Scotland, and the goodness, I was already 90% vegetarian. It's just when you travel, sometimes you cannot be 100%. And I start to practice Hatha Yoga in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I live for 4 months there. And then I meet a French girl, and we speak together, and I say, well, I'm doing Hatha Yoga, and she said to me, well, I know a yogi, very particular, very special yogis. And I say, well, I would like very much to meet him. And he was a Raj yogi, Stuart Bai. So I meet Stuart Bai, and because he took the knowledge in London for 2 years, he came back to Edinburgh to create a center. So we speak for 1 week. He never gave me the knowledge, but we speak spirituality, and I feel very connected at that time, because in Edinburgh you have many spiritual places. Whatever one time I was with Sufist people having meditation without knowing they were Sufist, you know. So, but it doesn't touch me. But when I was with Stuart Bai, everything he tell me, you know, it's really touched me. So he gave me the address of the London Center, and I went there, and I reached on Thursday morning. Then I get the book from Ashaben from Delhi. It was there. And then I talk with Joko Jim, you know. And he tell me first 3 things that which really suits me in some way. First thing is, we are vegetarian. I mean, if Brahma Kumari was not vegetarian, I will not be here today, for sure. Then second thing is, we live in celibacy. And for me, it makes sense, because I understand that first, you need to have a mental relationship with someone before having a physical relationship. So for me, in my traveling, I never go into any sex or something like that, because it doesn't make sense. You know, I was not looking for that. And no one on the mental level, on mind level, came to me. So, and then he tell me, we wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I was young, I mean, 18 years old, I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, reading and writing. So it makes a lot of sense for me. I say, okay, tomorrow I wake up and have 4 o'clock meditation. And I went to Tennyson Road, Baba's room, with Janti, Sudesh, and Daddy 2 days later. And Baba gave me the same experience in Africa. So for me, I naturally say, yes, God is here. No, that's Baba, you know, when Baba wants to catch you, you know, he knows the way to do it. And when Baba wants to help you, again, he knows, but obviously, he helping you when you are ready. So I stayed 2 years in London, and obviously, you know, 2 years in London I was with Shanti Bhavan, 10 Brothers, Daddy Janki, Janti Ben, Sudesh Ben class, every morning, every evening, you know. So I never think that I have to move anywhere else, you know. My place is London, no, you know, nowhere else. And then Janti Ben received an invitation from Paris for a fair. And Janti Ben gave me the invitation. Michel, that's an invitation for you. And then with Wadi, Sudesh, and another French brother, Renaud Bay, we went to Paris, and some brother in between, like François, you may know, came get the knowledge in Australia and came back to Germany and came to Paris for this fair. So, okay, so for 3 days we have the fair. But when the fair was finished, François went back to Germany, Renaud drive back Wadi and Sudesh, and I was alone. And I have to give the course, which I never did in London as well. So I was very shaking, and but still I did it because, well, it looks like, you know, Aji Baba, and that was the only things to do, you know. So I just give the course and goes on, and there was another brother, which just took the knowledge in Madhuban, but without any experience of Brahmin life. But he was very Karma Yogi person, Hubert. So we find the flat, and we do some Karma Yoga, and then we make the center, and then very quickly, you know, we have many souls taking course, and in 2 years we create 25 regular Paka Brahmin, you know. So it was very fast. But then the French sister, after some years, asked Baba, "No, Baba, we should stay in the center." No, I never heard about it. And Baba said yes. So as I was for 5 years in the center, I have to move out from, and that for me was a very crisis almost, no? But still accepting, because I have all the power yoga with me. But it was still not so easy things to accept, I will say, or funny things to accept. Then I went to, I created a Gita Pachala, you know, in the other part of Paris, you know, near Eiffel Tower. So for 6 years, but finally it doesn't work, and it's true, you know, when you are alone, when you have not the family, not so much seva, you know, I was becoming weak, and I will say spiritually ill and physically ill. And at that time, I feel very weak, and I start to write letter to Daddy Janki almost every day to clarify my past. And every day, Baba was responding in the Murli to me. And by doing that, my stage went back very high. So then I decided to move to the old center. I mean, as I create Panda Bhavan, you know, with two other brothers. And whatever was the Karma Yoga to do there, I did it. But then, at some point, you know, there was less and less Karma Yoga for me. So I start to think that whatever comes on my way, I will do it, and I will not bother about what others are doing. Then obviously I like to give knowledge, and I like very much to share knowledge, and that also when someone has a specialty, Baba systematically will use your specialty. So we should never think that my specialty is not used. We just keep on, you know, with your specialty, and at some point, the right time. And obviously, you know, there is, for me, two aspects in life. You know, your own initiative, and the drama and Baba. You know, Baba, the director of the drama, and the drama which has something for you as well. So in 2000, I was in Madhuban, and I asked Daddy Janki, Daddy, this year, because also I will tell you some more story about finance. But yeah, Daddy, I want to make 3 big trips this year, you know, because I was feeling that if I'm traveling, and then I can give more Gyan to people, you know. So then, Daddy, when I meet Daddy, Vedanti was on the side of Daddy, and Daddy watch Vedanti, and she has something for me. And Vedanti proposed Madagascar, which was a old French colony. So I went there, and for 1 month I give some knowledge, you know, and so, okay. So anyway, from that moment, my path changed totally. Means from that moment, I've been non-stop traveling. So I've been traveling first to Spain, you know, for a few months, and in 2000, October and December, I was in charge of the Cordoba Center in Spain, in south of Spain, for those who come from Spain, and I did some Karma Yoga in Barcelona, and then when you know, sometimes I don't know for you, but in Brahmin life, for me, I'm cyclic. You know, you do something for a few years, and for everything, in fact, in life, you know. And even for medicine, and at some point you feel that no, it's the end of it. I fully accomplished that. No, it's a new part. Something new has to happen, you know. So then I went to Gentiben again in Madhuban in 2002, and I say I want to go to Peace Village for Karma Yoga, and Gentiben say no, there is Portugal Karma Yoga, the horse. So I did 5 months Karma Yoga in Portugal. And at the end, I was listening all the Portuguese, Brahmin Portuguese. And I can read the Portuguese still. But low kick, no, impossible. The accent is too terrible. Okay, anyway, but the thing is, when I finish my Karma Yoga of Portugal, I come back to France, and it's that very much day in the Murli in Paris, a Serbian brother living in Paris was on my side. And after the Murli, and after giving my own experience, he asked me, do you want to go to Serbia? And it takes me 1 minute, because I have no more future, you know, I mean, no more plan for me. And that Serbia came to me without knowing what is Serbia. Not Serbia was a new name for me, because I knew Yugoslavia, but not Serbia. So in 1 minute, I decided, yes. And so in June 2003, I went to Serbia with the brother. So we stayed 2 weeks together in Serbia, but after 2 weeks, he went back to Paris, and I stayed 10 more days, and I started to give the course there. And then from that moment, you know, from 2003, I'm still there in Serbia, something like 5 months per year, and traveling a lot in the region. And so I've been traveling in Croatia, in Slovenia, in Bosnia, in Macedonia, in Montenegro. And recently, now I have a new invitation for Albania. in December. So totally new country, no center, nothing, you know. And I will start at least just for one weekend. Someone, you know, will prepare something, you know, for giving a kind of intense meditation based on the knowledge of Raj Yoga. Okay, so I can say more, but maybe time is running. Okay.
Your story reads like the Pilgrim's Progress. And even though we were classmates for those few years in London, and so would have seen each other on a daily basis, I didn't know Michelle's story. I didn't know all that. And in fact, it's very, very similar to my own. But instead of the equatorial forest, mine was the Sahara Desert. Yeah, so I think a lot of Baba's children were adventurers or were travelers, but didn't know that they were actually pilgrims trying to find their way back home, even as Baba was reaching out and pulling them. Yeah. Louis, before you start, you had mentioned down here how you were connected with Kamla in your coming to Baba. You want to give her the mic? So maybe you could just share that first, because I'm curious.
Well, it's interesting when you shared about you and Michelle. Kamla, actually, I call them my godmothers, she and Jean. Why? Suriname is the neighboring country of Guyana. And so when I took my Brahmin birth, well, actually it was still the pregnancy, I think, the Brahmin pregnancy. In that time, I just took the course, and I was like very touched by whatever I heard, but I was not convinced. And so in those first 6 months, Sister Kamla came to Suriname because Krishna Ben was going to Madhuban.
What year was that?
This is 23 years back.
Okay.
And so because Guyana had Kumaris, and so they were the closest by. So when Krishna Ben would go, one of them or two of them would come and be there for 2 months or 3 months, something like that, and until Krishna Ben came back. So I just had taken the course, and then she came. And when she came, it was a totally different Brahmin thing, because we were having a lot of fun, and we were making suddenly there was a change in the center, because Krishna Ben was one of the, old-fashioned, very, tough nut? Very serious, conservative Brahmins, very Indian. And then these young Kumaris came. So what happened, we started to play games, we started to go have outings, bake bread, whatever we did. And it was like, oh, this is also possible in Brahmin life. And so what happened is that we were quite young, no? And I say we because it was a couple of us that were born about the same time. And so when they left, we felt that we had a kind of friendship that was new for us. It was very pure, but it was also very loving. And she said to us, you come to Guyana. So me and another sister, you must know Sister Rota, we are like about spiritual twins, we call each other. We said, yes, we go. So after 6 months coming in Gyan, we left for Guyana. We went to Guyana for visit, because now our friends were in Guyana. So, and it is in Guyana actually that my stamp of Brahmin was fixed. It was in Guyana that my first white clothes were sewn. It was, and only this year I get rid of the last one, because I couldn't, it was such a precious thing I couldn't do. My first whites were sewn. The first time I wore whites, because I was really, I'm wearing white? No. Cream, maybe light blue, light pink, whatever, but white, no. So, and there were many questions, but in Guyana, when we went that trip, after 6 months being in Gyan, it was really, like the real stamp on my Brahmin life was put there. Although I had accepted things like vegetarian food, everything, many things I already was following. But there, because I had some deep experiences, very deep experiences in the center in Georgetown, Kingston, and it was like, this is it. And we had a very beautiful encounter with uncle and auntie too. And I think, although there was this recognition, but the way uncle received us, that was really something big for me personally.
Does everybody know who uncle is?
I don't know if they know.
You may
How many
need
of
to-
you know about uncle? Uncle and auntie? Yeah. And uncle is our uncle now. He's Yagya's uncle. And uncle was, one thing that he did, he was in a high position, no? And
He was
and-
the vice president of Guyana, and then he was the ambassador from Guyana to India.
And so when we went there, he invited us to his home. And he treated us like queens. Like really, we were treated like queens. And I saw him, I still now, that those moments, I can relive those moments. And because I saw how they created their Brahmin life and family life. You see, there was even this beautiful small Baba's room in the main sitting room, and it had a veil. It was a curtain in front, and this like a how do you say it? How do you call it? Like in the wall you have this. No, it's like how do they call it? Alcove, yes, like an alcove. And there was Brahma Baba's picture and everything. There would be of our book. When visitors come, the curtain would be slightly closed. And I saw how in this incognito way, they served so many. And I had quite a deep chat with uncle, because he knew my profession by that time.
Tell him what your profession is.
I am a medical doctor and pediatrician, but by that time I was not a pediatrician yet. Just finished my studies, and he knew that, and so the way he shared Gyan with me on that level really touched me on a very deep level of the self. That it was not just wearing the white clothes, but it was a very deep, profound thing, and I had many experiences in the center. So that was my stamp. And this Kamla, I call them my godmother because, we had a real celebration when I wore my first whites in Guyana. I still recall that, But it was like a spiritual friendship and a spiritual childhood, which was very beautiful.
I'm going to speed you up.
Okay.
Is that all right?
So this
Wait
is
a minute,
my
wait a minute,
relationship
wait
with
a minute,
Kamla.
Wait a minute. I want to fast forward her to more recent part of her story that I witnessed a little bit, perhaps, but I think it's of interest in terms of practical. And that is that she recently retired from her profession. She also is the instrument in Suriname. She's the instrument for Baba's service, and yet becoming free from her job and how she was known in the community and what she did and so on. And I don't know if reaching the age of 60 had any implications there, but I just feel that there was a change, and so it's like giving yourself, dropping one ID and taking on another. And I would like to know, in terms of your story, if that was an easy transition And, you know, the thing about a story is there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. Unlike a narrative, which is ongoing, we're all part of the big narrative that Baba tells us, but within that, each one has their own personal story. And so I think this bit of her story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I would like to hear it.
So now I realize I just shared the beginning, no? Yeah. Well, for many years, there was the feeling that I don't want to be full-time in the profession, because being a full-time pediatrician means that you're almost 24 hours a day available. And so quite some years back, I decided that my working environment to change so that it will be easier to do whatever I would like to do. So it was very easy, and only when looking back I see how easy it was. The three of us, three pediatricians working in one hospital, we shared our tasks. And with two totally different individuals, but we worked together for 21 years without any crisis, anything, because we had a lot of respect and each one had his own specialty. And so they knew about my life. I was very open about it. And my trips to Madhuban, in that period it was twice yearly, twice in the season, the beginning and in the end. And about my lifestyle, and they knew about it. And so it was not difficult for me to resign from 100% to 80%, and then from 80% to 60%. So although we worked together, my share was my full 1/3, but in the way I could do it. And that was quite easy, in the sense that I could manage it easily. I could, face if I was on call, then make sure that it was not too long a stretch, so my Amrit Vela and everything would not be on stake. But then a sudden change happened, and that is that one of my colleagues decided to resign. He wanted to go for another hospital. So suddenly, and it was quite suddenly because it was not expected, the two others of the team. And so suddenly one of the three left, and now I was the youngest one in the team. So I had to fill in for whatever happened. And so in my experience, I went from 60% to 120%. So what happened is that, the job is very demanding. I don't know, pediatrician is a very demanding job, because you have to be there, you have to be, as they call you have to go. You can't say on the phone, okay. You have to go and see, and then whatever. So this was, to me, a little bit of too much. And I sat with Baba. I cried some tears because I saw so many things change and I didn't like it. I said, Baba, look what happened. I want to be more, instead of 60% going to 30%. And then, and I felt that I was working 120% now. So I said with Baba, Baba, no way, I don't want to do this. My choice in life is different. I want to live my Brahmin life, and at least the early morning should be for you and me, no one else. So I put this request in front of Baba, and I started working it out. And then I resigned. Then I decided, I spoke with the seniors, and I said, okay, I will take early retirement. And then do only fill-ups. Fill-ups means when a colleague is out, you work. So the first year, this was 2014. The first year, I had some fill-outs, So they would ask, and I would go and fill in for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how long. But because I had that new freedom, I started to take on other things. So I started to do more service on different levels. Going out of the country and serve neighboring somewhere else on the islands or whatever. So what happened then in 2016 is that they were asked, but I was not available. 2015. I did some, 2016. I was not available because every time I was asked, I had another plan. And so I had no, there was nothing to do. It was just easy to say, no, I can't. But what happened is that then I suddenly started feeling that things are really shifting for me. Shifting in a sense that there was freedom on one side, but on the other side, when especially in the beginning, I said, what happens? I couldn't sleep at night because the telephone didn't ring. It didn't ring, and I could not sleep. I would jump up I said, what happened? Did I miss a call or something? And then, oh no, I'm not working anymore. And it was a very strange experience because I would wake up in the night because the telephone didn't ring. And gradually, I started realizing that people were never calling me because they wanted to, because they needed to. And many different other things start, showing me this, that people don't need me anymore. I decided not to work, but they did not call me, and I was feeling they don't need me anymore because it's a very demanding job. And so, okay, when you go to the hospital and you see them, they will ask you, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? But as soon as you leave, no one is calling you. So this was a very interesting thing because to realize that people call you because they need you and not because they like to. And this was, I was observing myself, and I took the time to observe myself, and this part a little bit about. I really took time to observe what was happening inside me. Because it's only then I realized how much I identified with my profession, how much I identified with my role in society, how much, a change happens when you decide, okay, not in this role anymore. And although there is this other thing, of course, because as a BK, you're never free. If you say Haji, you will never be free. But it's not the same. It's not the same. And it was a very deep realization how much got interspersed, what is the word in English? That you identify, yes, everything in everything. And even walking on the street and someone calls, Doc, like, they don't call you. You walk somewhere and someone say, hey, Doc, because that is the way that they call the doctors. Hey, Doc, oh, it's not me. All this, and it looks very small thing, but it's a very deep thing. Because I then realized how much I had to detach from that. I never realized I was attached. Until I decided not to be there in that role, then I realized how much I had to detach. And one thing I said from the start, I'm not going to fill it in only to fill it in. That gap. I want to work on it, I want to experience it, and I want to, from inside, detach from it. And a very interesting thing is that in the first 2 years, I would come and go to the hospital, and they would always ask me, oh, are you back? We are so happy you're back, like this. Because they were in need of one pediatrician. And it took me a little bit of courage to say, no, I'm not coming back. No, I'm not coming back. And then there was, after about 2 years, then I realized I dropped it. I dropped this because they were asking me in that intensity because I myself was still willing to go. And when I really dropped that thought, they never asked me again. That is one thing. But sometimes, they will ask because, but what happened is they asked me to come to do spiritual things in the same hospital. And then I realized it flipped. And so it's like I enjoy the journey, must say. And still, they're still asking. But when the actual 60 was there, I went to them and I say, now I'm 60. Yeah. So it's beautiful. And what it taught me is, and I started that right away, is that I have to teach my colleagues. Because there is one thing, doctors don't like to resign. Doctors don't like to go on retirement. Why? Because they lose their identity. And so it gives me an opportunity to serve on that level. So now what I do, once in a while, I will just pop in one old colleague and just share with him or her, or call them or send them an email. Because, and especially the younger ones, like, take time for yourself. Make sure that you don't live only for your patients in this way, but do it from another level. And so this is the journey still going on.
That's a great lesson, especially that of that they stopped asking when you stopped needing to be asked, in a sense. That's great. And so you were going to tell us, Kamla, about the internal changes that happen. You gave us the external details of the thing, but what was the internal change? And I just have to say that to me it's like she looks 20 years younger. I have to ask you, it's a body conscious question, but what is your lucky age?
I'm 53. Will be 54 this year.
54.
So, well, my realization and experience of this whole journey, I felt an internal shift, a big shift actually, because I felt I was doing a lot externally on the physical, and we all do in terms of service. But when I experience the soul power with God, the combination that brings such amazing result, I started looking like loose inwards, and even currently going into more experiments of using God's power, because I felt this was like magic, and it was a confirmation also of all the people I know, alokik people who watched me and felt also this journey is amazing. They felt it. And I knew that I have to work more on this God's power. His power is amazing. And to see what miraculous thing He can do more in my life, and also this whole feeling of the big things really can become very small if we use Baba's power. Okay.
Michelle, let me just ask you, as we're winding up, you in particular would have had many meetings with Aviyak Baba, many personal meetings. Maybe you would like to share one with us that was particularly meaningful for you, and might even have some aspect of the hero within it. But even if not, share one meeting with Baba that was very meaningful.
Well, you see, what is interesting is, as I took the birth in London, I have so many powerful experience of yoga, but very, very powerful, that when I came to Madhuban, it was less. I feel that, yes, the vibration of Madhuban was not, my experience, my personal experience, was not as powerful as those in London. Yeah. And when I meet Babdada, I think I was not so much mature Brahmin. I'm sure if I meet Baba now, I will have another type of relationship for sure. But because Baba gave me so many powerful experience, when I meet Baba for the first time, whatever he tell me, I say, well, I know that, I know. He tell me, you are, like a gopi dancing with Krishna. I say, I know this. You will be the conqueror of Maya. I know that. It's like Baba never tell me something specific or, a new information or a new direction, or something, because I was so much intoxicating. So, but obviously just meeting Baba, the sweetness and obviously the clarity that this God in front of you, makes you so happy, just to say, well, I meet God still, yeah.
Okay, and Luz, let's finish it with you then, because you said your favorite kind of story is a love story. So tell us a love story about Baba. And you.
About Baba and me. Which one?
Okay.
No, there is one thing that brought me in Gyan, and that is relationships. That is what brought my entrance in Gyan, was relationships. And I must say I didn't like Brahma Baba at all the first year. Not at all. I couldn't see his face. But I had deep experiences of soul consciousness, and that is why Baba kept me. And those experiences of soul consciousness were all about depth of spiritual love, a love that I couldn't grasp it. And so when I came to Madhuban, I saw this face everywhere. I didn't want to see that face. And it was really disturbing me. I couldn't sit in Baba's room. I couldn't sit here, there. Everywhere was Brahma Baba's face. So I said to one brother, is this all? I don't like it. And then he said, forget him. He just plainly said, one senior brother said, forget him. But that answer did it for me. Because when I, was said, forget him, then I start to remember him. And so Baba's love to me was in so many instances, and I had been, Brahmin life is it's like a roller coaster, but you enjoy it. And I remember very clearly there was one time in my Brahmin life where I was really upside down. There was many things happened, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I came to Madhuban, and I was called to go in front of Baba. It was not a personal meeting, but we could go and take drishti. And I was so upset inside. I said, how can I go? But I couldn't say no. So with all this feeling of what to do, what not to do, I went. And that drishti still stays with me, because the only thing that I heard Baba saying, it's okay. It's your journey. It's okay. And that was such a deep experience of God's love to me. It's what to say.
So the story continues, the never-ending story, and on the other hand, where we all and everyone enjoys their own story. When we tell how we came to Baba, it was perfect for each one individually, and then there's another whole aspect which I think is very much of this time, where we're trying to supposedly go beyond our story and get to the essence. And again, just the thought that whoever's in your story, they're not there by accident. They all have a purpose, and in part you have invited all the people into your story. Make sure you know why. And maybe just in this meditation, that appreciation for everyone who's in your story, whether playing major parts or peripheral, but through all of that, they have brought you here. And of course, deep thanks to Baba. Thank you all. Thank you. Om Shanti.